What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday evening. Hopefully, we all had a wonderful day. And again, it was a pretty nice day for most folks, but we did have some stormy weather for sections of the country, and I do expect that to continue into tomorrow and even likely further throughout this week. And things could get kind of interesting for some folks going into kind of this weekend and early next week. It looks like we could get some nicer weather and more maybe fall-like weather for some folks up into the extreme northern part of the country, up into the Midwest. And all of that is because this big cutoff low that we've been talking about, that does look like it is going to sweep its way into sections of the lower 48 going into at least this weekend and beyond a little bit. So that will definitely cool things down, but with it bringing some rain and a continued chance of storms for folks. Now, after that, I do see kind of this death ridge of sorts kind of building back in, and with that, that means summertime heat, summertime humidity, and really just in time for the dog days of summer as we get into late July and start thinking about August as that turns around the corner. So definitely crazy stuff. This year has gone by like crazy. We're already nearly halfway through July now that I'm looking at my calendar, with it being July 12th, if my calendar doesn't mistake me, and I'm sure by the time I blink, it'll be July 13th. So anyway, just pretty crazy year. And in fact, I'll be going back to school here pretty soon. So we'll definitely have to figure that out in terms of the video planning and all. But we'll definitely be fine. We did it for plenty of months, and we will figure it out. With that said, though, let's go ahead and jump into your forecast this evening, because I know this video is coming out a bit later than I normally do. So taking a look at satellite imagery, again, kind of the big story right now is the general flow. And excuse me one second, I have to move my mouse so it'll actually function here. But this general flow around this cutoff low, as well as around this big dome of high pressure. So these two kind of pieces of energy in the atmosphere are working in tandem to bring these rounds of storms kind of down in between the two, and that is why we have seen a lot of this stormy activity over the past couple of weeks. Now, taking a look at current radar, most of that rain is kind of confined up to sections of the Great Lakes region and into the Northeast, from Milwaukee over towards Detroit, Cleveland, even back towards sections of northern PA, southern New York State, into the Albany area, and into Massachusetts. Other than that, we're pretty dry in between there and the Gulf states, where we do have some evening showers and storms moving on through southern Alabama right now. But everyone kind of in between these two areas have had a really nice Wednesday with just a couple of pop-up showers there and storms into the Carolinas. Now, again, there are two components of this. Again, up into Canada, we have this big cutoff low spinning away this way, but on the other side of it, that high pressure is bringing a lot of heat and kind of this dome of heat into the southwestern part of the country, from California all the way over to Kansas, Missouri, and Arkansas, seeing this big dome of heat. And of course, with that, bringing dangerous heat to big cities like Oklahoma City, Dallas, Austin, Houston, San Antonio. A lot of big cities back that way, seeing big-time heat out of this thing. So kind of the Goldilocks zone right now. I know I say that a lot, but really is kind of here into where a lot of my viewing area is, from Illinois back over towards Ohio, West Virginia, the Mid-Atlantic, seeing really nice weather right now as they're kind of sandwiched in between these two different air masses. So going into tomorrow, we will have a pretty big piece of energy swing on through. Again, all of this is because of that low pressure that we've been talking about. Kind of a piece of it is broken off, and that is going to kind of ride up through the Northeast and into southeastern Canada tomorrow. And with it, bringing the chance of some severe weather to return to the forecast here for a lot of folks down into the Ohio River Valley and up into the Northeast. But really, the worst of these storms will be kind of up into sections of the Northeast and sections of Appalachia. So really from Kentucky, especially kind of northern and eastern Kentucky, up through Ohio, West Virginia, where I know I have some viewers, up into Pennsylvania, upstate New York, into Vermont. We're going to see a pretty feisty line of storms tomorrow, and I can't rule out a couple of tornadoes with this. So I think wind will be the big threat, some hail as well, but definitely also a tornado risk for you folks tomorrow as this swings on through, before things calm back down a little bit going into our Friday, with just a marginal risk here into the Mid-Atlantic, and then another area to watch out for back down towards the southern Great Plains. So taking a look at future radar, again this evening, expect these showers and storms to continue to work on through the Great Lakes region, but that same low pressure will bring way to some big storms tomorrow afternoon. So this is going into tomorrow afternoon and evening. You'll notice right here along the low pressure, getting some storms to fire off into upstate New York, but also storms back down here into Ohio, Kentucky, and the Virginias. And Again, I can't rule out a tornado threat tomorrow, so I know I've got people watching in Kentucky and West Virginia. Make sure if you're in those states, you have a way to get those warnings tomorrow. But also places like Ohio and upstate New York also have the chance for some pretty feisty storms tomorrow afternoon, as this low pressure has a pretty good amount of wind energy with it, and that, of course, combined with the summertime instability will definitely lead to some strong storms tomorrow. And again, those will roll through the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast going into the overnight hours as well, and maybe even as far south as the Carolinas tomorrow. Before kind of fizzling out a little bit going into our Friday morning. And Friday afternoon could be a stormy one as well for some folks. I think definitely starting tomorrow, going through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the stormy pattern looks to pick back up. So again, we've had two really nice days here. That looks to change a bit going kind of past the next 24 hours or so. And the reason for that is all because of this big low pressure. So again, this is that piece of energy that is broken off that I was talking about that is going to swing on through the Northeast, bringing severe weather tomorrow. So we'll have to get through that. But after that, you'll notice this whole cutoff flow as a whole will begin to sag southward into the lower 48 as we get into this weekend. And that is going to bring with it some cooler weather to the northern Great Plains and the Great Lakes region, but also the return of stormy weather. So this is for this Saturday and Sunday here. You'll notice this big area of blue diving southward into the lower 48, and again with it definitely some windy conditions, some cooler conditions, and some stormy conditions, and that looks to hang around at least going into early next week as it tries to work its way on out. And we could even get another piece of energy to move in behind it next week as we get back into kind of the long range. But what I can tell you is at least through really tomorrow through this weekend, this piece of energy is definitely going to cause some problems for people in the east. But also some nicer weather depending on where you are at and what you like this time of year. So taking a look at future radar, again we'll look through the next couple of days, but as we go into this weekend, again, expect kind of these afternoon thunderstorms to pick back up as this low pressure sinks southward into the lower 48. Again, afternoon thunderstorms going to be pretty widespread, I think Saturday, Sunday as well, into next Monday, early next week. These storms look to continue. Now, once this moves on through and gets its way back up into Canada and kind of off back towards the Atlantic coast, going into kind of the middle of next week, things could begin to dry out and heat up for a lot of folks. So we'll definitely have to watch that going into the medium and long range before maybe even another piece of energy swings on through like we looked at on the other map. So something I definitely want to show here is the average temperature anomaly. This is from all of our Euro Ensemble members, and I think it does a really great job of showing what this piece of low pressure is going to do. So again, going into this weekend, look at these blues kind of taking over the Midwest, and definitely cooler than average temperatures. Now, I will warn, I'm sure you've seen on certain YouTube channels that I will not personally call out, phrases like an Arctic blast on the way or a polar vortex or crazy terms like that. That is not what this is at all. This is although slightly uncommon for this time of year, is not anything unprecedented. It's really just a piece of energy that is going to cool us down maybe 5 to 10, maybe 15 degrees below average in spots that we should be this time of year. This is not going to be cold by any means. It'll just make it a bit more comfortable compared to what you might be used to this time of year. So just want to put that out there because I'm sure plenty of meteorologists are going to take flack from certain people who have no idea what they're talking about and are in this just for clicks and money, putting out nonsense. So just want to warn about that, and just a friendly reminder to make sure that you trust the sources that you're getting your weather information from. So again, a little tangent there, but feel like it had to be said. So again, anyway, this weekend definitely will be cooler than maybe you might expect this time of year up into the Great Lakes and even sections of the Midwest. And as we go into early next week, that could slide into the Northeast. Now, the one kind of not so exciting part about this is on the back end of it, look at all this red kind of taking over for a lot of folks, really from the Midwest down through the Ohio River Valley, through the Mississippi River into the Southeast, bringing plenty of summertime heat back in store. And looking at the long range, that looks to really build in and hold on for a while for a lot of us going into the medium and long range. So again, just to remind you, we've got that severe weather tomorrow. Make sure you have a way to get those watches and warnings, especially for my viewers in Kentucky and West Virginia and up through the Northeast, where I know I have a lot of people watching from. So again, just definitely make sure you are taking part in being weather aware tomorrow. And then, of course, we'll see what happens this weekend with maybe some cooler air working its way into the Great Lakes region. I'll definitely be hoping for that for you folks. But overall, still a stormy pattern as we are dealing with this cutoff low, still funneling in some of those storms from the Northwest through at least the next week. But we'll see what happens after that. Right now, my guess would be that ridge builds back in and we get into more of a summertime pattern with a lot of heat and humidity in the medium to long range, or really long range, I should say. With that said, I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday night, and I will see you all tomorrow.